Good afternoon. I am incredibly tired. I had today off. Well, I have today off. Well, technically by now I would have had today off because obviously I normally finish at 12. But I am. I woke up really early today. Now, do not get me wrong. I'm old peoples, so we old peoples generally have to wake up for a pee in the middle of the night. So I did. And well, I didn't really go back to sleep. So I ended up getting up. I mean, I was in bed, but I ended up getting up at about 6 with chronic backache for some reason, which has worn off a bit, huzzah. But I feel like I've been awake for 3 days straight. I was watching The Flash, because I've never actually really watched it. And why? Because I've never really watched it, frankly. And apparently I've slept through 4 episodes. So that's how that went. I just mentally am absolutely knackered. But the good news is, 5 working days till the end of the new year. Or beginning of the new year, you know what I mean. But right now, I really honestly feel like it would be the nicest and bestest use of my afternoon to do what has been kind of an age-old tradition of where I work, because we didn't work Friday afternoons, is to sleep all afternoon. I mean, seriously, if I went back to bed right now, I could probably wake up tomorrow. Now, sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you need to just kind of go, I am that tired, I will sleep for as much sleep as one can sleep. And if I'm tired, I will sleep. If I'm awake, I'll do wake things. And I'm not convinced today is one of those days. But I am so tired. But there we have it. It's just the way of my life. So, as a result, I do somewhat fear this is not going to be one of the longest streams. Although I say that usually and then end up doing way more than I expected to. I have still not found the missing wooden thing. Christ alone knows where that's gone. Because I did have a really good scrub around for it. I looked in all of the surrounding area, under things and behind things, in case, dog whacked it with a tail, couldn't find it. I have no idea where that's gone, which is immediately frustrating. I just, seriously, right now, I'm not convinced I could calculate it one-on-one. It's excuse me. It really is. That I am that tired. It feels like I've been, not quite down the mines all day, but I've been doing an awful lot, and that it's it's kind of 11:30 at night, and well, it's not. It's 2:15. It's just don't know. I really, really don't. I don't understand how it can be this bad. But what I will do is I will yawn again, excuse me. Felt that one coming. I'll show you the tatting I've been working on. Now, I haven't got very far with it. But there is a reason I'm going to show you. Now, there are some mistakes in it. I'm not going to admit that there aren't mistakes in it, because there friggin' are. Like always. So, let me transfer to the bellow. Where are we at? That looks a bit wonky. Looks a bit less wonky. That looks even less wonky, but it's a bit... needs to be more over there, but more over there. I need to move my table. That's what it is. I need to move... Oh! Sorry about that, you fell over. For some reason, it's really keen on that, as you can tell. So let's move the table now. There we go. How's that? Let's see where we are. Not very good. Let's try and sort you out a bit. Try and get you into a reasonable frame. Scoochy scooch. Right. So, let's move that. Here is the tatting. Now, part of the reason I wanted... I don't know what that was. Part of the reason I wanted to show you this. Now, don't be alarmed about these two threads, because I just haven't sewed them in. And these two threads are obviously the working matter. Now, it looks a little bit chaotic at the moment. But what you do is you make the inner square, so you make this little square here in the middle, and then you make this square on the outside. So I've done like one edge like that. So if you think of it, it's going to be a square like this. It's kind of like that. Now, mistakes made. These 4 rings are not joined correctly. Mainly because when she did it on screen, because this is a pattern again from YouTube, it was one of those ones where she explains how to make the, well, most of these rings. She seems to mainly skip the last one. But she doesn't really show which loop she joins. So there's, each of these are born with a loop on 2 sides and one at the end, and I assumed it was the side ones. I'm now thinking they should have been the end ones, kind of in a big group in the middle, or these 2 here should also have joined like that, to help keep it a bit square. This end one looks a bit pointy, which is slightly annoying. Mainly because I think I fucked it up, actually. Maybe I didn't. Who knows? Other fuck ups so far. This was supposed to have a chain so that this trefoily bit sits a bit more proud. And I forgot. But the astute amongst you will notice it's a bit flatter. I zoom in a bit. Oops. There you go. So, if you look at that, I know it's white, doesn't really show too well, but it is looking distinctly flatter. It's still looking a bit itchy. some of these transitions, so the chains that go between aren't sitting quite right. I mean, they are supposed to be slightly droopy, but they're not that droopy. It's not great, but it is improving. Now this is clearly bigger thread. But I'm definitely much happier with this. This has come out far more like what I wanted, and although these don't look right, I am happier with how they've all joined together because, well, they're flat, and the reason they weren't flat is because I'm a dork. Now, it's a little bit hard to explain, but maybe I can. So, when you join through a ring of picot stroke ring of a previous ring or chain or wherever, you dig through a hole. So I'm not going to go through an actual hole, but you dig through a hole, poke and pull up a thread. And if I pretend with these, so that's where, right, so that's kind of where the threads are naturally living. That one's heading that way. So if this was being a chain, for example, I would normally poke through one of the holes and bring up a loop of this one. And the loop of this one would kind of be like this. And I would take this and poke it through because it was naturally on this side of it and poke it through. This turns out to be incorrect. Now, it's a loop that can very easily twist anyway. So it didn't entirely dawn on me that because it's the loop of this one that this one goes through, that because this is the same thread that would be making all the stitches, the fact that it was twisted shouldn't really matter. But it does. It actually seems to. Moreover, what many of them did not make clear is that when one does the making a loop through a picot to join, you must then do the second half of a stitch to make the first stitch. Now, it still looks a bit wonky, in my opinion. It doesn't have like the smooth little bar across the top that you normally get. But if you stare at it quite hard, it doesn't screamingly look ugly. I mean, it looks a little bit strange, but it doesn't look particularly ugly. So you have to go through the other way to make it flat. Which is basically the only difference between looking really scrappy and looking pretty okay. Now, if we go back to the Great Purple event here, this was done with the kind of, let's call them twisted joints, which is part of the reason it's not sat as entirely flat as it probably could have done. But now I've managed to make this white one that does look distinctly more as it should. That's the word. I am tempted to have another go at the pink and purple. But not as in making the 4 joined squares together as they are, making one of the purple squares. Excuse me. Just to see how that, make a couple of them and join them together and see how they turn out. Because making the one big square was really quite cumbersome, and I'm already finding this to be quite cumbersome. Now, I am almost halfway around the outside, but next up, she says, looking at it, I get to do, she prefers to her notes, hang on. I get to put this, I get to flip it, and I need this one. And this. And again, I'm still having terrible problems with trying to get this particular thread to stay stuck around my finger. But if I fold this over, just keep it out of the way, and we do. This is a bit long. Hang on. Did I do a whole one? I'm not sure now. The answer to that is yes. So 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Just checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Make a peak coat. Make that longer because it's beginning to chop the fingers off. And that didn't last. Sometimes it stays around my finger, and sometimes I have to do it like 900 rotations, and sometimes I don't. So it gets a bit annoying, and I'm still dropping everything. So, and then we get to do 7 more. Sounds like a storm's brewing. Fuck off. I need you to stay round my finger. Yep, there goes the wind. 1. 2. The problem is that this catches all the thread on it. Everyone else seems to have so much space when they do this. I seem to be, feel like I'm trying to pick the micro dot out between my fingers. So that's 4. 5. 6. 7. And scrunch. And then turn it over. See, although I turn it over, it doesn't always kind of want to do the thing that I expect it to do. If you know what I mean. Which is when it goes to do something, it seems to twist and come undone. Well, not come undone, but lie in the wrong direction. 2. 3. See, you're just getting in the way. That's what happens when I can't do it with them dangling. 3, 4. I think about this. This doesn't feel right. So this would be... No, this is right. So I'm just not thinking... I'm not thinking about the right place in my pattern. So this is going to be one of the 4 joiny bits at the corner. I don't know what I've got on my hand. Let's sort that out. There we go. Let's put that back on my fingers. 4. Leave a chunk. 2, 3, 4, 5. Leave a peacock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make it bigger. Peacock. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we drop the thing because we're numbnuts, and we do another. Hello! I will be doing something a bit better than this in a minute, but thank you. Not really. So now we do one of. Well, I'm doing something, but I'm definitely not at my best. Hang on. So, 1, 2, 3. I wanted to show you what I mean about the join. So here we are. Now we've got the stick. Poke through the thing, grab the thread, and pull it up. Now, as you can see, this thread looks to be this direction, but you don't. You poke it this direction. And this is something that was a nuance that somehow had escaped me. And she says for some reason. And I still get this occasionally where my ring suddenly stops turning and I have to yank it from the other end and then it will be fine for some reason. And everything's kind of all in the wrong place. But see, now that's flat and it never was before. And I don't know whether I was just being dumb, but you then do the other half, so now that's 1. And then I do need to do lots of these, so 2, 2, 3. I'm going to need way more chunk of that. Preferably end a bit more. Yeah. And then we need to do another 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. So 1, 2. Tatting is I'm going to say, one of the hardest hobbies I've done that is hard to get right. There are so many minor things that make such a difference in the finished piece. And you watch a ton of YouTube videos, you buy some books. I bought a book that was supposed to come with a video, it didn't. It was supposed to come with a DVD, and it didn't. So, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and it's very hard, I think, to pick up the nuance. So, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the last one. And I need to make it considerably bigger. Hang on. There we go. I do find it very difficult to do this on screen because I normally have to take my glasses off because I'm as blind as a mole. And I normally do this without my glasses on. And so doing it with my glasses on, I have to look over my glasses, which gives me eye strain. But also, I have to hold my hands so much further away to be on screen. It doesn't help. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 with 3 at the end, and then you do an extra half. And you squeeze this up like this. And then there's like the people who say to post the shuttle through the hole. And then there's the people who say not to post the shuttle through the hole. And then there's the... Oh, arseholes, I was supposed to have joined. No, I'm not. Am I? Hang on. No, it goes on the loopy thing there, that's right. Why is that coming out of there? It should be coming out of there like that. No. That doesn't look right either. The fuck? Oh, that was supposed to be a chain. Prat. This is one of the hardest things, is you do something like this and then realise you got it wrong, right? Now, it is not impossible to undo. What is very hard to undo is to unclose a ring. It seems really anti coming undone. Now, if I make that quite a bit bigger so that it's loose, and get my favourite, you're going to laugh at this, de-ringing device, you grab the thread like this. You have to be careful, obviously. You give it a bit of a tug, and then you can give it a bit of a tug, and then you can give it hopefully, no, it doesn't want to come, so you have to give it a bit of a widget, because this has gone tight again. Basically, this last stitch needs to be kind of loose. Now, you do have to be very careful with the pliers because it will just pull the thread apart if you let it. So don't just haul ass on the pliers. But once it gets going, it's kind of logarithmically undoable because you can move that much more before it gets to the end. Now, this last stitch, once it's big enough, you can undo the extra half and post the thing through it. But it's kind of like it's twisted, so and it's not. So if you can loosen that, you can then pull this through like this, and suddenly you've got enough. Well, you know, I am the child who I have never forgotten my poor father. My father had something go wrong. I was never exactly told what happened, but he spent most of a year off work with under Hillingdon Heart Hospital. Basically, potentially with angina, but not angina. I think it was a form of anxiety. In today's terminology, right? Anyway, my dad spent that entire time making little wooden boats. Now, when I mean little wooden boats, I'm talking 1/20th, I assume, scale. Things of like the Tudor Rose ship in all its glory, with little cannons, all the rigging, all the pulling, and not just carved out of a lump of wood roughly in the right shape. Oh, hell no. He made it no worries. I'm struggling to get still, but I'm here. I'm alive. I'm sorry I keep missing your streams, but you seem to have them at like 2 o'clock in the morning, so it's your own fault. Anyway, my dad needs boats. He made them like they were real boats. So, in case you were not aware, you do an awful lot of wetting of wood and bending it and nailing it onto the boat to form the shape of the keel. And he would spend hours cutting these little fucking planks out of balsa wood. Now, if you've never used balsa wood, technically, I didn't know this as a child until later, balsa is considered a hardwood. But if you or I were to touch it and say what you think, it is basically the lightest, flimsiest, most delicate stuff you have ever met in your life. But somehow it's hardwood, so there you go. Anyway, these rather incredibly flimsy bits of wood, my dad would be sitting there bending them gently, because obviously if they're not wet enough and they're not happy enough, they will just snap. And I remember having to hold something while my dad was doing it. Fair enough. But bear in mind, my dad is off work ill, and he's currently in the kitchen, kind of his arse out the kitchen door. I'm holding something, whatever it was, and he was, grimacing and very delicately trying to do something, and I found it incredibly funny to go, snap! Just as he was really delicately doing something. He warned me some more. His temper didn't survive a third one, and nor did my butt. I deserved every inch of it because I was being a dick. But, yeah, sometimes I am reminded of that as I'm sitting there tugging with a pair of pliers on this thing. Because I have broken the thread before. And you don't really get any notice either. So, it's not ideal to be tugging with a pair of pliers. But, the more thread you trap, so if you try and do like this, you've only got a tiny bit of thread. If you do it at more of an angle, there's much more. But also, of course, you can pull a lot harder without realising it. But basically, if it resists you, don't just tug harder. You have to tug fairly hard, but not, you know, Jeff Capes it up a bit, alright? And so it was, I am very much reminded of those moments as I'm sitting there, because I know that little me would have sat there going, snap! And I probably would have tasered myself or something. So, you know, I fully understand why he did it. I mean, I knew it was annoying, but that's why I found it funny, you know, because, you know, he had his hands full, and I was, and I had the easiest get out because he was stuck the other side, you know. It was, yeah, I was a little shitbag that day. So why am I undoing this? Well, this was supposed to be a chain because I'm a numbnut. That's why it doesn't look right. So we're undoing this because I'm stupid. And if I leave it, I'll be annoyed with myself. So once you manage to undo the ring, actually undoing the tatting itself is not ridiculously hard. However, you've got to get the ring undone. Chains undo pretty well, because obviously they're just a chain. It's the rings that I really struggle with, because you pull them quite hard to close them, and, you know, they kind of seize up into what they're doing, and should you have screwed it up, it's kind of difficult. I always avoided these kinds with the little plastic pokies on the end, because I rightly assumed that they'd be very good at splitting thread, because they are. But they are far more pokey than any of the ones with crochet hooks on. Now, the crochet hook ones are good, because it means you don't need an extra stick. Because doing it with this one, so if I was to poke through this tiny hole and try and dig a thread out, is actually quite hard. But what these pokey ones are really good at is opening up a bit of a hole. So, like I'm doing to open the stitches, I can open up the stitch and then kind of do the bobbin thing. They're very good for poking that open, whereas the crochet hooks suck at that, in my humble opinion, as an ill-practiced non-specialist. But yeah, I am so ready for bed. And it doesn't help that it's already going dark. It's only 3 o'clock. It's mainly because the weather's shit, but it's going dark. And this does not help Liz in her winterness. Liz is not good with winter. But as you can see, we've undone quite a few stitches, and this hasn't given me that much grief undoing them. Which is kind of interesting, because previously I had a hell of a job undoing stitches. And it's not because I've magically got better at undoing stitches either, more to the point. It's because it is easier to undo the stitches. Partly I think because this is the bigger thread. so here we're undoing the through the loop bit. So we need to pull up the loop. And make sure we've got the right side. So which side are we on? And twist a bit. This goes through there, like that, I think. There we go. Bits of string. I just find my own body is so in the way. So half the time when I'm making stitches, it gets wrapped around this finger, or these extra fingers kind of like need amputating to be out the way. It truly is quite... I mean, this is definitely the most fiddly of hobbies that I've tried. And I've done some dumb shit, but this does seem to be arguably one of the most fiddly. But I'm also fascinated by the fact that you can kind of have this little pouch of a couple of bits that you can take with you, and you can do this literally anywhere, as long as you can see what you're doing. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend doing it in a cinema while the film's running, but technically you don't need to see to do it. So I suppose in theory, you know, with a bit more muscle memory and all the rest of it, you probably can. But, you know, waiting for a bus, sitting, you know, in the back of a taxi, I'm pretty sure it would travel well on an aircraft because it's not got any, you know, by default, particularly sharp objects. Especially if you can do away with the crochet hook bit. Because you don't really need scissors once you've got everything on your bobbins. So it's kind of, it really is quite, it's the fact that it's so portable. I mean, obviously the lace that you make from it is bulkier than this, right? But everything has its place. I mean, to be honest, I know this is purple, but this could make a neck curtain. It would be a bit thick, but it would be great for a lacy summer top. Or at least part of a, you know, if you, I mean, obviously not this big, not, and maybe not purple, but if you had, you know, size 80 thread and you did this, so, it, you know, these four would end up the size of a quarter of this. You know, if you had, like, panels of that on the sleeves of your shirt or something a bit more, say, this as a sleeve of your shirt, this could go well with a thin knitted jumper. So, being this chunky, you could definitely do chunks of this sewn into it to make it more airy and summery. You could, you know, I think there really is, this definitely seems far more suitable for clothing, I think, or practical use, as I would term it. Because while you can make a bobbin lace tablecloth, the threads are tiny. The threads are not... I mean, each of these threads, this has got a core and then knots around it, so it's got quite a bulk to it. This is just kind of like single threads that waft their way round. There are no knots, there is nothing to hold it together, there's no real twisting for strength. And so if you had a tablecloth and you had someone with a fork and it, you know, they put it down, it went through a hole, they picked it up and it was through the tablecloth, they could probably easily rip a hole in it. If you spilt the wrong thing on it, it would degrade the threads and very easily there could be a hole in it. Now, I'm not saying that to an extent the same isn't true for tatting, but because there are more threads, you know, you can tug on it. I mean, I know I've showed that you can stretch and pull bobbin thread quite reasonably hard. You don't have to be, you know, velvet cushioning the entire event. But it is very much that this feels a stronger method of making things. It doesn't seem much quicker, to be fair. Now, this motif that I am nearly halfway through, girl who, I won't say I will say invented it, I'm not sure if she did, but made the video for YouTube, declared the pattern, you know. She did these with slightly smaller thread and did 10 of them that she then wrapped around a lamp to decorate it, and it did look quite effective. Personally would have used slightly different colours, but you know, because she had like a white lamp and put dark brown thread or something on it, and it did fit, which was quite surprising, because to an extent there was a bit of me going, and how did you know before you'd made like 2 that you were sure that it was going to fit and keep within the realms and look nice, and that you only needed 10 and not like 10 and a quarter of one or something, so it didn't match up? I mean, there was a lot that could have gone wrong with it. But she made 10 and she said that the 10 took her 25 hours. I've spent four or 5 on this and I'm only halfway through it. Now, I mean, I keep having, I've undone a bunch. You know, I am not, you know, record mating tatter of gloriousness. Now, you see, this is not sitting right because this needs to go here. That goes there. And that goes on the inside. This now comes actually around here. And it's you. See, this is one of the things that annoys me, is that I've got this thread here, and it's now poking out of this loop to the right, but I need it on the left, which means that it doesn't entirely sit flat. And I didn't tug that one as tight as I should have done. So in fact, I might be able to get away with cheating and going, if I do, bear with me, I've had an idea. If I do, I don't know where you've come from, sort of. This is, can you not? Can you fuck off? You're getting in the way. I'm confused. This is hard enough without having random pink threads appear in the middle. So this then goes through here. Now that kind of solidifies it going that way. So that's not what I wanted to do. So now I've got to work out how to undo that. So I need you to come down this way and you through there. Like that. Now, let me... Everything just... You're supposed to be that way, but I want you... You twist? You can twist, okay. So let's twist you. Right. So, you're supposed to be pointing in. So let's flop you that way. You two then are there. You, which one are you? You go back up that way. And see, it's just come undone again. There was me. Great. It's got some tension on it. I'm all lined up. I'm good to go. And then it just doesn't. It just catches on everything. And I know I'm a bit of a cack-handed, useless gimp, but there are times, you know? There are times you're going, this cannot be all me. It is not entirely all me. So, we need to do... Once again, 4 of these. Fold you over to make sure you can get nice and tight. That's my only tip, is to get really nice and tight against things. Don't be afraid to fold it over. That really does seem to help. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Peacock. 1, 2, 3. Now, you join to you. So, poking stick through the hole, grabbing the thread, pulling up some thread. And this is where you really wish you had way more spare thread in your finger than you do. Poke this through there like that. And try and go back through there like that. Make sure it's not caught round half the other things, which of course it is. Give that a bit of a tug. So... like that, and then we need to have a bit more thread because we've used that. Right, so 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. I saw that. Three. Up a bit. 1. 3, so we're done. So it's flipped over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the last one. Next. 7. It should be a bit bigger than that. This is definitely one thing it's good for, is you poke it in the hole to make it a bit bigger, and it gets bigger. 1, 2. Get off my finger. 3. And I think that's all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the end. Give it a nice tug, straighten it out, because mine always end up a little bit twisted. But there, you can see I've made the nice little loopy bit. Get off my finger now. Yeah, now I want you off my finger, you don't want to come off. But it's a bit chaotic. Hang on, let's try and sort it out a bit. So this comes round like that. So this is this bit here. So like that. Now, it doesn't quite look right. Why does it not quite look right? So you had I think it is, it's just that it's not staying away from the thing. So there you go. But her whining is really annoying. And I know it's a female dog thing, and it's not her fault. I get this a lot of the day, and I doubt it's even for me. To be honest, it's probably nothing to even to do with me. And the fact that it's nothing to do with me makes it distinctly worse. Yeah, there's a van for next door. Kids, it wasn't even for us. It really wasn't. It really wasn't, my friends. So, now we've redone that bit, so it's the right bit. This was originally designed to have lots of beads in it, and I have chosen to forego the beads at this time because, well, I think beads can look very pretty. Do not get me wrong, but it depends what you're going to do with it, doesn't it? And if you're making it for the sake of making it, wasting beads is a little bit much. Yeah, hello, Whiny. Hello. Yes, you, madam. But also, I haven't really tried beads yet. So, I mean, it's fairly simple. But you do have to put them on first, which I find mentally a bit of a struggle. But I thought I would make this because it's quite a pretty motif. I quite like the fact that this ends up as a diamond in the middle. I mean, obviously this will bend round a little bit more like this, so this will be a bit more that shape there like this. So, and this will be a bit more over here like this. So it's not a big square, it's just bigger, right? But obviously it could be smaller. But it's looking a lot more even than my tattings have in the past. Because I'm now doing the joins right. So they sit better. I'm still occasionally not pointing the chains in the right direction somehow. And like this bit, I forgot to do the extra leg here. So basically, is the short version of that. But I won't say I find it relaxing because, well, the cursing of the threads catching on everything and fingers and is distinctly very much an issue. Why does this look off again? But it is. I like the things that it makes. I like and there are some patterns out there, and some of them do these extra fine, delicate stuff that almost looks like bobbin lace in delicacy. And there's a bit of me that goes, I mean, it's only doing it smaller, and so it's not technically harder. But when you muck it up, it is. When you muck it up, it's definitely harder with smaller thread. What? 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 Yes, it's raining outside. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. I do. I do indeed know. I am not exactly, you know. Anyway, so I kind of enjoy doing this, and it's not that I don't enjoy doing my bobbin lace. As you know, side quests have been a thing. The problem is the tatting takes as much time as the bobbin stuff, for me at least. Hello, Rory. Are you a good boy? Are you? Are you my little boy? You being all gentles? Aww, little waggity pup. My little happy boy, aren't you? Unlike little fucking Mauler over here, who's trampling on my leg. Yes, Rory's a good boy. But I do like the fact that you can kind of, you don't have to sit up at the table, you don't have to have the big paraphernalia of bobbins and pins and, you know, 50,000 bobbins and all of that. Now, you do end up with a very different style of lace, clearly. It would be much harder to make a more delicate, let's call it mesh-based lace to make, say, a curtain from, because it tends to have holes in it. Now, logic dictates that once you have completed, say, your square, so let's pick on this one as a semi-completed object, despite the fact that I haven't sewed in the ends, so we'll ignore that, right? Because obviously that's definitely not a thing. She says trying to identify all the ends to try and hide them a little bit, but that's not going to work. But if you wanted to make this mesh based, of course you could then sew gently with thread between some of these aspects to make it a little bit more structurally sound, so that, you know, obviously, because, you know, you could get caught in this, but if you made a form of lacing up in there, you could you could definitely, you know, bypass some of that. But again, you'd have to spend time doing that. Do you mind not licking my hand, little man? I am really tempted to have another go, as I say, not as this square, because with this one, as you remember, you go up, down, and then you go up, down, and then you go up, down, and up, down, and up, down, and then up, down, up, down, and we work all the way around it. That was, I mean, once you get to the end, you've made quite a decent amount of stuff, and you can expand it so that you do the whole thing in one piece. Now, normally I would say that would be the way to go, because less joins, less hassle, less shit. But the less you've got in your hand, man, it's so much easier. So it's really tempting to do 4 of these, join them together and have a look and see how that compares. I mean, I would choose to do these little onions on the corners. A, because then you can just continue it if you want. B, I don't actually like the fact that these little kind of bits just don't have anything to hang on to. The onions, because of how they're structured, lie better because you do a ring that wouldn't have been attached, and then you encompass it in another ring that kind of does join to the 2 pink dots. So these onions are joined to the pink dots. They're not floaty like this. So I quite like the fact that that would then give it us... I mean, I quite like the fact that this has got an interesting kind of edge, but it's a very flimsy edge. Hey, that had teeth in it, my man. That had teeth in it. I got a nibbled finger. It didn't hurt. It was just the fact that there was teeth in that. What? It's only, what, 20 past 3? Yeah, 20 past 3. Come on, children, please. You woke me up like you'd been shot in the butt earlier today, which was part of the reason I woke up and went for a pee. I didn't actually wake up needing a pee. I could have done with a pee, so I went for a pee, but it was not my bladder that woke me. It was the leaping off the bed as if one had been shot in the butt to go downstairs to probably pee on the carpet. Oh, my friends, it is definitely a challenge. But I am tempted to do this again as kind of a comparison to show how far it's come. So I may do some of that because I did enjoy that. I also want to build up a bunch of squares because lots of people kind of do patterns for squares, and there's quite a few of them on YouTube where they don't just give you the pattern for the square, because that'd be too fucking easy, wouldn't it? Right? No, they don't just give you the pattern for the square. They will kind of show you doing it. So like with this, you started here, so she showed this ring and then this loop and this ring and then how to do all of this. She got to here, didn't show this 4th ring, then she did the chain, then she did this kind of side bit, and that was it. She did the middle bit. The rest was down to you. Now, I mean, you know, we're adults, we can work it out, that's not really that big a deal. But the problem is she told you how she was going to make the ring, and then sometimes did actually different actions, which slightly is irritating. And I can tell you now, the pattern is not as symmetrical as you'd think it would be, and I don't see that there's a good reason for that other than it just isn't. So, for example, these chains, this first one, you do 4 and then 3 between each of the picots and 3 at the end. This one you do 3 and then the 7 picots with 4 at the end. Why? Why is it not 4 at each end? Just to be, you know, reasonable. So there are some really tiny weird nuances. But I'm definitely tempted to have another go at the purple and pink one. Because I did kind of enjoy doing it. I managed to commit it to memory because it was quite easy to commit to memory. This one is a lot harder to commit to memory for some reason. And I'm normally quite good with that. So I am very, very, very tempted to do the purple and pink thing again. Are you nibbling my fingers? Are you? Why are you nibbly fingers? Little man. It's not like you to nibble fingers. It's usually her who's trying to bite my face off. But yeah, I'm definitely tempted to have a go at the purple and pink one again. Hello, Amy. Why do you act... Oh, it's got a really weird colour. That can't be sunset. Alexa, what time is sunset?
Sunset will be at 4 p.m. today.
Okay. It's got half an hour till sunset, so it's kind of a weird colour. The sky is kind of Windows dark grey, but there's this kind of hue to the light of a kind of orange. But the sun is not visible anywhere. But there's this kind of orangey glow. And it's not just like my back garden or something, so it's not like my house is on fire, but because I'm looking out the other window at the other houses, and they're all like it. There's this kind of weird glow. Maybe the aliens have come. I definitely fancy doing this again, and I did enjoy doing this, but I didn't enjoy doing such a big piece in one go, although clearly I managed it. Definitely feel the need to have another go at this, though. Give me strength. You are the whiniest shitbag. Yes, you are. You are a very whiny dog. So this is kind of where I've been at. And part of the other thing that I quite like about this is that although I feel like it's kind of cat's cradle in your hand a bit, and I do kind of prefer the look of lace for this for things like a net curtain, because it can do a mesh very well. I guess in theory you could do lots of little circles and try and join them together and make a form of mesh. So you do like a load of split rings and then turn a corner and do split rings back and make kind of a sea of split rings. Yeah. Can see that being a bit annoying. Might have a go at that a little. Make a little kind of, not necessarily a big square, but a smaller square of split rings, and you know, make, I don't know, a 5x5 little ring. So, you know, this kind of size almost. Make 5x5 square and see how that turns out, because I could see a purpose for that. That would be quite good for, let's call it, covering distance and not having big holes in things, and then, you know, almost having a decorative edge to it, because I mean, clearly I've got dogs, so none of this would be practical, but if you were going to make like a bedspread, again, the tablecloth, in some ways you don't really want huge areas of I know this isn't overly complicated, but if you had this as a tablecloth, there's too much gap. There's not enough of it. Whereas if you had lots of small rings, almost not quite chain mailed together, stop licking your leg, but kind of butted together like this, it would be quite a decent tablecloth, but it would still look particularly fancy. And of course, if you did split rings, you could alternate the different colours. So when you get to the end of one split ring, you could switch over, so you could have, you know, almost a checkerboard of two colours, and, you know, make or kind of out of the checkerboard, make little flowers randomly by, you know, if they were white, so you could do like a row of white, and then on the way back you do, say, 2 white, a pink one, 3 white, a pink one, a white one, and then the next row you'd have like 2 either side of what the previous pink ones, and, you know, so you could make like little petals, and you could do that, and you could make, you know, you could make a pattern out of it, but the pattern would be by colour, not by fanciness, if that makes sense. So I do think that would be harder with split ring, though. You could probably do it. Where there's a will, there's a way, and all that. Could probably do it with a crap ton of chains. But, you know, you could do something. That reminds me. I need to send a text message. I've just remembered. So yeah, sorry, it was someone's birthday. I want to at least wish them a happy birthday. So yeah, I kind of... One of the other things I'm finding with tatting is I'm far more drawn to the idea of colour than I normally am. I am normally the plainest person. This colour here is my reason to live. I mean, everything I have is beige, right? So this should be the most perfect thing for me ever in the history of ever. And now, to me, like, my net curtain could only ever be white. A tablecloth should be white. But I'm kind of enjoying the idea of tatting with 2 colours. Now, in part because it helps you make sure you're using the right shuttle for shit. I truly mean that. But I definitely do want to revisit the pink and purple thing. So once I have finished this, I'm going to remake this with fresh eyes. Although I still pretty much remember the entire pattern. But I definitely want to collect more squares. Now, I do have a bunch of squares. I bought a few cheap ones off Etsy. Some have bead options, some don't. And normally where there's a bead thing, I just make a picot if I'm not doing, because I'm not doing beads. But I do have beads. So it's not that I can't do beads. I am kind of drawn to it, and as you know, I don't like picots. in my lace. Mainly because I suck at them. But I am finding tatting picos far more tolerable, because you just leave a gap, and then when it scoots up, you end up with a little dink on the edge. Whereas with these, you have to twist it all and kind of wrap things and pray and pull and hope that you don't fuck it up, and you won't know till you take the pin out about 10 hours later and go, well, I screwed that up. And you're buggered if you're going back that far to fix it. So, with that in mind, tatting picos are far more acceptable. I don't really like, I mean, some people do huge mega picos. I do kind of prefer the slightly smaller ones. So some of these could have been a lot longer. And would have looked far more frilly. I mean, if I zoom in again, you'll see what I mean. Hang on. Zoom it down and across. I mean, here you can see there's loads of little picos around the edge on all of these, and like the bit I've just done, there's loads of picos along the edge, and I'm getting much better at keeping them fairly even. As you'll notice, they're all pretty much the same sort of size. I mean, they're not perfect, and I'm not using a magic tool for that. I am eyeballing it, as you've seen, but I am somewhat enjoying the whole shebang, to that extent. I'm not hating on the picos as much as I thought I would. Because, to be honest, to a large extent... Hey, Net Kisser! So, to be honest, I really thought with tatting I was going to, you know, ignore every bit that said make a pico, except for the ones that I needed to join. And to an extent, I can still see a purpose in me doing that, because, again... I mean, like these ones in the middle, some of them... Excuse you. Hello, Myth. What is up with you? You have the evil bean today. You have the evil bean. It's like you're drunk. You're a bit leery and you're a bit fucking annoying, and you've got no self-control, and you've been out in the garden in the rain. Yeah, yes you have, because you're soggy. And I don't really want soggy wet dog, because, well, you honk. I said you smell, because you do. You do smell, darling. I love you dearly, but you stink, because you're a wet dog. Yes, you are. You are wet dog. She is distinctly damp at the edges. They're being really annoying again. They did this yesterday. Thank you, Rory. They've done this a lot recently, which is they'll just get this sudden urge to be really annoying. Your claws so need a trim, my man. Yeah, and the moment I talk about it, you fuck off, which is just one way to get rid of you. So yes, I'm definitely going to finish this square, which I can see happening in the foreseeable future. And then I'm going to do another purple and pink one, but I'll make 4 individual squares, not as one piece. Because I did find that a bit of a challenge. What? See, this is the problem, Rory. You gently asked, dear mummy, would you mind if I could would consider giving me some time for a little bit of love? And your sister appears and starts mauling me. I'm being licked. I am. I'm not a popsicle. You know that, right? I'm not. Rory, I'm not. I know, little man, I do. And I do care, and I do love you ever so much. But if if you keep licking me like you're trying to get through me before the end of the day, like a lollipop that you don't like, no. Lie down. So, I don't know. I have caught you up on my tattings, and my plans for that, and I am kind of enjoying it. I think it's much more of a winter sport because you can keep your arms closer towards you, so you can keep a bit warmer. It's a bit like knitting. You can kind of fiddle with it in your lap, and you don't have to sit at the awkward table to do it. It is in some ways a cheaper hobby because realistically, let me zoom out a little bit. Hang on. You need 2 of these, which you can buy various variations. Now you'll notice these ones have bobbins in. Now these also come with little widgets that you can put bobbins in. And these widgets serve 2 purposes. One is that you can stick a bobbin on the end. So, for example, I actually do have a second bobbin. Hang on. On this. To wind it, which is good. And bobbin goes in the shuttle. You can swap them out. So if you are doing work that realistically uses 1 bobbin, or 2 bobbins, you can get away with 1, because instead of me having this dangling off the end, what you do is you slide it out, slide it into there like that. Let's put that now, and then you can, it holds it because it's quite firm. So you can, wrap it around your finger, hide it in the background, like this, do your work, and should you need to, you take this one out and put that one in, and then you can make do with 1 bobbin because you've got this little bobbin holder that can hold the other spool of thread. Now, if you're really desperate and you need to do a bit of a split ring moment, you can, of course, pass this around because, it's fairly small. So I'm quite liking these for that reason, because if you think of the other ones that I've got, she says. So here was a very small version of the purple and pink one. They're shorter than these because the crochet hook comes to there, and obviously, it's got the kind of screwdriver end on the other end. So these are considerably longer, which means you need to have far more clearance to pass the bobbin. So these are quite good for that. And as I said, these hooks often are also really good at splitting thread, but they only have the purpose of pulling the thread through a picot. They don't have the same practical use as the little plastic pointy ends, which is a nuance that I have not really found discussed anywhere I'm sure it is, but I haven't found anywhere discussing this as to why you might prefer hooks over plastic pointies. Now, as I said, in some ways the hooks are good because you don't need a hook then to easily get thread through a picot. If you make your picots considerably bigger, of course, you can use the little pokey plastic end. Now, these ones were really, really cheap. You're going to laugh. I got these off, wasn't Temu, what's it called? One of those, like, knockoff shit site things. Hang on. It's called AliExpress. There you go. One of the Temu shit kind of things. Where, frankly, it's the back of a lorry, cheap knockoff. But they actually work pretty well. I also got some extra bobbins and a couple of these little bobbin holder things. So, I think I bought 1 bobbin holder and 5 extra bobbins. Because you can never have too many bobbins. And I do think that because obviously your tatting shuttle is a core part of the process, the quest to find the exact right one for you is a very personal journey. And personally, I would like a slightly smaller, so shorter, even than these. Because if, there's plenty of spare space there, they could very easily make that shorter. And a bit more stubby, which would be nice. Which would reduce a lot of the movement like this, because you don't need to move so far to clear the bobbin past the string. But I do quite like these, and these were seriously fucking cheap. They came with free delivery, and they cost me... Hang on. Hang on. They weren't expensive. Hang on. I hasn't picked up that. I did it on my desktop. Hang on. It should be in here. The only thing I will warn you is that then I'll send you a lot of fucking emails. When I'm talking 5 or 6 a day. Yep. Order. There we go. So, 2 shuttles that came with 2 bobbins and a bobbin holder, and 2 lots of 5 with a bobbin holder were £26. So they're what? £5, well, £6 each, kind of thing. They do have some interesting looking thread, but most of the thread doesn't actually say in thread terms how big it is. So that's slightly off-putting. But they have all sorts of weird things. So, for example, a set of crochet hooks. They're quite pretty. I mean, not exactly my bag, but they're quite pretty. Yeah, they've got They've also got these. Now, these look horrible. Well, they don't. They look beautiful. So, they've got like these tatting shuttles. Now, I'm not quite sure how they've been made, but they just kind of... I mean, here's someone with very bad false nails. Hang on, can I make that picture bigger? There you go. There you go. If I do that. Bad false nails. But that just looks like a bad idea. That does not look... I mean, they're very decorative. And from that point of view, you know, have to definitely, you know, agree that they are very quite pretty, but I'm just not so sure that they would be practical to use. If you know what I mean. Curious, but don't really want to spend nearly 20 quid on that. But they do have lots of thread. They do have lots of... they do have quite a few things of interest. And it's all mind-numbingly cheap. Which, let's face it, is often the kind of requirement for these things. The only other thing that I have found with it is, so for example, they do so for example, there is, you pick a colour and you can have 5 things, cones of that colour, of various, or 10 cones of that colour to be fair, but let's say 5. Trying to see where's the actual description, because sometimes you need the description and it looks different on the website than it does on here, which is slightly annoying. This doesn't seem to show the description. It sounds rather dodgy, because it feels rather dodgy. Lots of people do love this particular sandbest thread. Oh, that might give me the description. No. It doesn't give me the... Oh, there it is. I saw it briefly. There it is. So, description. 138 gram roll, right? So it is a considerably larger chunkier kind of and you get 5 of them, and there are some interesting colours. Ooh, they've got some... Ooh, these look interesting. Duochrome threads. How can you not find that interesting? So, for example, as you can see from, say, the one at the bottom left-hand corner, You can see the two colours kind of thing. Duochrome, they're called rainbow, but they're not rainbow as in because they're different colours. They're rainbow as in they are duochrome, for want of a better phrase. Some have a bit more colour to it, some don't. So yeah, I think there is this kind of... I do feel that there is option for... Ooh! They do glow in the dark shit. It is a bit of a rabbit hole because it's so cheap. You're not. It's not like you're really feeling that you are putting any real risk on it, if you know what I mean. It's not like, you know, you're putting down quite a lot of money on it. It's cheap enough that you can have a go and see what you think. Which, let's face it, is a very valid and concerning thing to need to do. So I may have to do some of that. I really might. Problem with an awful lot of it though is you look really carefully and it will say like 1 per customer. And you're like, well, how am I supposed to get different colours then if I can only order 1 colour and don't really want 1 per customer. So, for example, what did I click on last time? Okay, so I could have as many of those as I like. That's seriously fucking pink. Though, I have to go back to some sites and do some checking and because I can compare things. Hang on. So, products, thread. I think it was under embroidery thread. No. Oh, what's it called? Vega here. So the 20, because they do tell you on here. Yes, so 20 is half a millimetre. 40 is clearly half of that. So 6 strands would be nearer the mark. But they do have lots of pretty colours. So yes, I may have to order me some shit. It comes from abroad and it takes a bit of a while, so it's not a, hey, by tomorrow you can have kind of stuff. So yeah, so I shall possibly get me some of those to play with, just because they come in really good colours and are not arse-numbingly complicated. I mean, for example, looks quite cool. Quite like that. So they're quite nice looking. And at £3.86 a chunk of, and you can have as many of those as you like. So yes, I find myself drawn to them. But I think that's the problem with a lot of these cheap websites, isn't it? Is that there is a bit of you that kind of you look to it and you kind of go, I could really, for that money, I could try that and that and that and that, and then suddenly you've spent quite a bit of money. So I'm quite tempted by that. So I'm just reading because I'm wondering how you specify the colour you want. Oh, I see. That's quite reasonable. and they actually do a decent violet, a real good violet colour. It's kind of a bit boring, that's metallic. But so was that, and yet that had decent colours. Okay, let's have a look at this one then. I really do hate it when they just give you a number and you have to go back and look and find out what the colours were. So yeah, I'm having a bit of a mooch around this. So I appreciate that this is not exactly the most entertaining that I have ever been. So that one and that one. Because I can, dude. What's that? Oh, that's this stuff. And while I'm here, it would be stupid not to, really. Although, to be fair, the colours are a little bit meh. And they're not quite as cool as they could be. It's not a bad colour, but yeah. Glow in the dark is somewhat tempting. Don't know what the fuck I'd use it for, but might just be a bit more expensive, so yeah. It is kind of tempting. Just having a bit of a mooch. violet colour. Why is it whenever they make like a multicoloured thing, they're always really ugly colours? I mean, they've got one which is, hang on, yellow and orange, but it's basically, well, it's not ugly, but it's really bold, if you see what I mean. It's not, it doesn't feel graduated. That's possibly the word I'm after. Yeah, I am very tempted by many of these things, but it is hard to pick the anyway. I realised that I haven't done a huge amount of interest today. Very little, actually. But we've talked of our plans, and I'm feeling more positive and awake than I was at the start, which, to be honest, is quite impressive, considering how tired I was feeling. So, with that in mind, I shall hopefully see you tomorrow. Jesus, what is wrong with my glasses? Well, I know what's wrong with my glasses. Let's not pretend I don't know what's wrong with my glasses. But having been looking at my phone without them, I put my glasses back on, like, the fog descends. So, because, you know, it's not because they're dirty. Well, they're not undirty, but they're not dirty. They're just scratched to hell and back. There we go, it's a bit better. So, as I say, I do apologise that today's stream has not been, exactly rip-roaringly exciting. We haven't exactly done a lot. I think I am slightly stalled on that because I have lost one of these. And I don't know how I've lost it. It's kind of popped my enthusiasm bubble slightly. But once I get some time off and I can get some sleep in and don't have to, sit there and worry about work, I can completely forget about it. It should be easier to sort myself out a bit more and get back to a bit more of a rhythm, because I am still struggling, as you may have noticed, to stream. I mean, co-worker's off today, so I'm not going to get a call to help. And don't get me wrong, on neither occasion has my co-worker demanded that I help them. But, like earlier this week, if I had not stayed till 8:30, nearly 9 o'clock, they'd have quit. They were just ready to set light to absolutely everything and let it burn. It was kind of like, and they were going, oh, if I can't get this to work, I'm not coming in tomorrow. Yeah, okay, I wasn't going to talk them out of it because I know exactly how they feel, and all it would do is cause an argument. And it's like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, I can accept that. I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to dissuade you because I know how, I know how I feel, and it's kind of like, if I, one of my friends to cheer me up was saying, well, is there anything we can do? And it's like, well, if you win the European lottery, can you and you get like 350 mil, can you spare me a couple so I can retire? And believe me, in a heartbeat. It's that kind of moment. That's where I'm at. Is that that's what I kind of want to do, is that I desperately want to retire and I can't. And I absolutely mean it, but I hate my dad. I have worked really hard all my life. I have saved. I earn considerably more than my dad did when he retired. And not just because of the year gap, but, in terms of practicalities, I earn far more than he did because it's just the way it's turned out. Technically I earned more than my dad when he retired. So, I was above him on the wage scale. I have put stuff aside. I've tried to do all the things that he said. I don't get to retire at 50. I would have retired 3 years ago. This summer will be 54. And I still can't see me retiring. I'm going to have to keep going until pretty much I'm not allowed. And I'm sick of it. I need off this merry-go-round. So I envy him because, if I could have said 3 years ago, F you to everybody and was now doing my own shit. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure like my dad, I would probably, fall into a bit of ill health and not live to the ripest of old age. But I've done it a damn sight happier. And I think that's the problem, is that I would love to retire. But people these days, generally, you either retire at 30 because you've made millions doing some shit, like Instagram or whatever, and then you retire early, or you keep working till you're kind of forced out. And, someone said the other day, there was a meme short video I saw, and it does summarise the world really, really much. Now, okay, it's 5 years on. I'm not under the illusions that prices don't go up. But in 2020, when COVID hit, for £10, I could buy 2 burgers with chips. So they came with chips, so that's 2 lots of chips. And obviously I fed quite a few of the chips to the dogs because I really couldn't eat 2 lots of chips. A drink and something else for 10 quid. Now you get 3 strips of chicken, not 3 chicken breasts. So basically maybe a chicken breast. £8.99. Everything is so friggin' expensive for no bloody good reason. So, with that in mind, retirement is not easy because you may have saved that money and in 2020 prices, you might have been able to afford to. In 2025 prices, no, you can't. It is scary how much some things cost. Especially food. Food and petrol. Or diesel. Whichever you buy. But both as bad as each other. Now, part of the reason food is expensive is because of the cost of the petrol. Do not get me wrong, I'm aware of that. But lots of things just seem ridiculously expensive. And, so when you want to try new hobbies and you want to buy bits for it and you want to experiment, it is very, very difficult to feel you can, because to set yourself up with a bit to have a good experiment, well, you've spent quite a lot. Even if you buy from the cheap shit sites, it is a difficulty. And you know, people these days, because I'm not going to say we work harder than our ancestors, I don't think we do, but we do work in a very different environment. When you know, as an IT person in the 80s, you went and did a job. If they didn't need you then more, they fired you. They didn't need you, you just weren't needed. But there was no stigma to being fired, you just went out and got a new job. You weren't really redundant. I mean, there were redundancies. Big companies did redundancies. But if they didn't need you, they fired you. Small companies will just fire you. Don't need you. Bye. Piss off. But you also then went to your next job and they asked you questions and judged you on how well you did your job. How well you answered questions of a technical nature. And so, being fired didn't matter. You went and got another job. These days, one of the almost questions on the thing, have you ever been fired? And you know full well if you answer yes, they're not even going to respond to you. There's been quite a few meme videos about job hunting in the UK, and I know it's not just the UK. Highly qualified, really experienced, good candidates can go through 7 rounds of interviews and then get ghosted by the company recruiting. Whereas back in the 80s, you wrote your cover letter, you sent in your CV yourself, you always got a dear you, fuck off note. And half the time they'd even say, you know, we do not feel your experience is sufficient, or we found someone more qualified, or, you know, after the interview we felt, you know, another candidate was a better fit. They wrote, it might have been a horseshit reason, but they wrote you a letter saying no. These days, you can travel the length and breadth of the country, you know, a number of rounds, spend far too many hours there, and oh, yes, well, you know, we think you're great, we'll speak, you know, we'll let the agency know, and you never hear from them. They lie to your face so that you don't cause ructions leaving the door, and then that's it. They'll never speak to you again. And it's shocking. I mean, I haven't had job hunting for a while, but, you know, I know plenty of people who have, and it is shocking the number of jobs that you're talking well qualified, you know, highly competent people having to apply for thousands of jobs and not hearing for most of them. It is terribly shocking that this is how the job market's at, and I think it would do the world a lot more favour if people applying for jobs treated the companies hunting with the same level of disdain that they treated the job people wanting the jobs. After all, they have the need. You might already have a job, you're just trying to do better for yourself. They maybe need you more than you need them at that point. You're just hoping that, you know, because most of them now don't bother to tell you what the job salary range is when you know, before you apply, which I think should be illegal. Because what a waste of everyone's time. I mean, the average salary in this country is about £35,000 grand, right? £35,000. So imagine you're on 35 grand and you go to a job interview and they want the moon on a stick. You've done 6 rounds of interviews. You've you know, had to take loads of time off work to do said rounds of interviews because they've always been at stupid times and not kind of almost an individual thing. There's been group shit and everything. And then you discover it's like minimum wage. What a waste of everyone's life. You wouldn't be interested in the job when you get that far, and you were never going to agree to it, but an awful lot of companies don't want to talk about salaries in the interview, probably because they're not worth talking about. And it just seems that it makes you feel very cattle markety, in that, you know, you kind of parade it around and people kind of make decisions based on all the wrong aspects almost. and then pick one and pay the least they can get away with and walk off. No, I'm not saying all companies do that. I'm sure there are some good ones. But, you know, like everything, if all you hear about is how bad job hunting is, you know, and, you know, at the same time you hear how tons of people are surviving on, you know, job seekers allowance or whatever, and not working, and some of them having never done so. And yet they've got a brand new car, they go on a couple of holidays a year, they've got the house is paid for under the fact that should you be unemployed and all the rest of it, they're supposed to pay your mortgage or your rent. They do have caps on that, and they will get pissy if you're taking, you know, but, you know, and or you've got some form of disability, and it just seems that everyone's kind of got the wrong attitude at the moment. And the problem is I'm finding I'm getting the same attitude. It's almost I don't want to be doing it. I'm not interested. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not doing it because I love it. I'm doing it because I have to, and it's not in my nature to do bare minimum, but I want to. With all my heart, I want to do bare minimum. I don't want to be I can do that. Oh yeah, I'll fix that. I don't want to, but I am. So, you know, sucks to be me. But why? Well, because when we got 2P'd last year, we were told that the company we moved to had been paying out its bonus. Not this year, it hasn't. We've been there a year now. No. So this year, well, last year, people got 15%. My salary will be 15% smaller this year as a result. That's quite a chunk. No offence. Of any amount. That's a worthwhile chunk. Because 15% obviously is more than a month's salary. So basically last year's salary had, you know, 13 and a half months in it, in effect. This year's won't. That makes a lot of difference. I've not been on call, so I've not had the on-call bonus. Now, that has been a blessing. Don't get me wrong, that was money well spent. Because I think I would be feeling significantly worse about my life if kind of every 2 or 3 weeks I was on call. Because, you know, my personal time feels short enough as it is. Shortening it by being on call really doesn't help. So yeah, it's you know, I think like everything, the whole world's just a bit topsy-turvy right now. Would I love for this to be making me millions? Sure. If streaming for 3 or 4 hours a day could make me millions, yeah, okay. You know, I'd find a bit more. Oh, for goodness sake, it's the back door and the wind. And then animal. But it is time, I think, to order me some takeout. It is, and use some chicken nuggets. Yes, it is chicken nugget day today. It is chicken nugget day. It's their treat for Friday. We all have a treat on Friday. We have takeout. And if you saw in Discord my terrible dinner yesterday, holy fuck. In short, I put my dinner on, and normally, just as it's about to be done, I smell it. So I don't normally need to set up a timer. I reckon it was in the 90 minutes, not 15. It tasted worse than it looked. I mean, in the picture you could see still bits that had colour that weren't entirely black. So it just looked like I put it in for, say, 25 minutes instead of 15 minutes. Nah, it was nearer 90. It was... You could have... I mean, they were solid. They were bricks. They were dried husks of pizza. And they didn't taste or anything. Admittedly, they didn't taste as burnt as I might have expected. Because burnt obviously is quite a distinct flavour. For example, burnt toast is fucking horrible. I'm not going to say they were good. That was not the word that I would use. But they didn't taste as burnt as I was expecting. But it didn't really work. So I've already had a bacon sandwich this morning. That was good. I enjoyed my bacon sandwich this morning. In fact, I really enjoyed my bacon sandwich this morning. In part because, well, yesterday's dinner was so terrible. And quite a lot of it went in the dog. Because, well, I normally eat the crusts. Don't get me wrong. Because I'm a hungry soul. And I kind of like my food. But I must well eat my desk. It was about as edible. And so they ate about half of it. I'd eat kind of the middle, which was the damper, and that would have to be measured scientifically to prove. The marginally less burnt section of it, and then gave them the kind of crunchy outer bits, which they really enjoyed. Crunch, 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 crunch. But, yeah. So I am looking forward to my takeout. I don't know what I'm going to have. I might do a bit of a weird combination. There's a place near me who do nachos in a box. And on the nachos, they sprinkle cheese and jalapenos. And I am really partial to that. And they do burgers, and they're nice burgers. And they do pizzas, and they're nice pizzas. And I think they do kebabs, and they're nice kebabs. They're generally good takeout. But I might have nachos and pizza. Because of yesterday's pizzeria disaster. I don't know. What will I have? Let's have a quick look. I am a creature of habit, though, which is distinctly my own. Which is distinctly one of my problems. So let's see. Oh, they do cheesy nachos as well now. But that looks more like cheese sauce. Please don't tell me they've made... Oh, I think they've revamped their fucking menu. Because I've never had cheesy nachos out of them. And it suggests cheesy nachos is one of the things I've previously ordered, so got a horrible feeling they've ditched the... They now have better pictures. Where's the nacho section? So, it's rice and chips, wings, bucket, burgers. Chicken fries, cheesy nachos. Loaded chips. Well, shit. They don't make my nachos the way they used to. Fuck. And I mean that genuinely. With all sincerity. Fuck. I don't want nachos and a cheese sauce. I want nachos, sprinkling of cheese. Yeah, that looks just insanely boring. I liked mild nachos. Fuck. That is distinctly frustrating, because that was my favourite thing that they did. So basically you've got like a little pizza box with quite a big handful of nachos at the bottom. So probably half a packet of nachos, sprinkled with a load of mozzarella cheese that is heated in the hot bag, with jalapenos on it. It's really quite simple. Nothing, hugely complicated. But I don't really want to replace it with nachos and cheese sauce. Because that is just not how it sounds, Distinctly miserable, because it's always the way. Something you really, 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 really like, and they ditch it. Yeah, it's very disappointing. Very disappointing. I'm going to get... So I don't really want to pay for a handful of nachos and a bit of cheese sauce, £5.49. God, you're a whiny animal. Slightly disappointed, because I really would have liked me some of my nachos, because I do significantly enjoy those, or I did. Well, shit. Hang on. Did I not add... I could have sworn I added a fucking burger. I was wondering why it didn't sound right. Yeah, I did. View basket. Why does it not say burger? It says I've had one. Oh, that's chicken nuggets. That's why. Let's have a look. So. Bucket. Let's see what happens to what turns up. Quit whining. You're being the whiniest whiny. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I am ordering chicken nuggets. I am. See, look, it says placing your order. And it says half an hour to 45 minutes. Which, when they confirm it, will probably be near an hour. There you go. Estimated delivery time, 44 minutes. Okay? 45 minutes, which will mean it'll be here about 6 o'clock. Ish. Which I know is a bit longer than 45 minutes, but let's truly be honest. Give them a bit of leeway. Oh, off you go. I ordered from a company last week, and I was really annoyed last week because Tesco's were coming as well, and it took them, what was it, nearly 2.5, 3 hours or something ridiculous. So, but this lot are usually quite good. Oh. Am I doing good scritches? Am I doing good scritches? Am I doing good scritches? I think I am. Anyway, I'm really disappointed that they've changed their nachos. That's just 1,000 times disappointing. Don't you grumble at me, young lady. You are so rude. Rude you are. Rude little girl. Yes, she is. You're a rude girl. You are. You are a rude girl. Because you always grumble at me. You growl at me. You bark. You swore at me earlier. You did. I heard you. You made lots of noise and you barked at me. You did. You gave me a big bark. It wasn't even like conversational. It was big, barky bark. Yes. Yes, you. Right, so I will hopefully see you tomorrow. I may not. Depends how awake I am by that time. Discord will be the source of all answers for that kind of stuff. For those of you who have come today, I do thank you very much. I realise this has possibly been one of the most boring streams of all time. But never mind, I did try. Take care, everybody. I will not fob you off onto somebody else. You are free to make your own way in the world. Take care, and I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.